Okay, here's some more of the mid-chapter P practice problems. Number 12 here. This was off a test that you hopefully downloaded and tried. Okay, we have the square root of 96 over the square root of 3. Now I can look ahead. I know that 3 goes into 96. And remember, the quotient of the square roots is the square root of the quotient. So those are one of the very important rules we went over. So I can rewrite this as the square root of 96 divided by 3 because I know very well that 3 goes into 96 exactly 32 times. And then this violates no number 1. I've got a perfect square factor. The perfect square factor is 16. So I rewrite this as 16 times 2. What's the square root of 16? 4. So I got 4 times the square root of 2. Okay. Number 13. Now we're multiplying a radical times a binomial. So again, I can use a distributive property, and I can use the fact that when I multiply the square root of 3 times the square root of 12, this product of the square roots is the square root of the product. So I could combine those. I could have wrote an extra step where you have that times that times that. Hopefully you can see that. So that's going to be the square root of 3 times 12 minus the square root of 3 times 24. Okay. And then what's 3 times 12? 36. What's 3 times 24? 72. Now I kind of could have factored out, I could have done this a different way by writing a lot of factors and grouping my factors in pairs. But I think you guys can do this division okay. Now, this is the square root of 36, but I have a perfect square factor of 72 of 36. 36 times 2 is 72. You need to know some of these simple multiplication facts involving perfect squares. So 36 times 2 is 72. And what's the square root of 36? Just 6. And the square root of 36 here is 6. I can bring that out, and I'm left with the square root of 2. So 6 minus the square root of 2. Hopefully that makes sense. Like I said, I could have put a few more steps in there, but just didn't. Okay, now this is the square root of 3 over 2. Now remember, this violates no number 2. We can't have a fraction under the radical. So we break this up, and it's real easy. We just realize that the square root of a quotient is the quotient of the square roots. So that's the square root of 3 over the square root of 2. But now we're in violation of no number 3. We've got a radical in the denominator. So we have to take care of that, so we have to rationalize the denominator. So we multiply by whatever makes this a perfect square as soon as possible, and that's just going to be 2. So multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 2. And remember, the square root of 3 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 6. Remember, the product of the square roots is the square root of the product. And the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 4, and the square root of 4 is 2. So I just end up with the square root of 6 over 2. And now we have a binomial multiplication involving radicals, so we have to use the FOIL method. Good old Mr. FOIL. I didn't quite finish this, so you get to see me finish it here. So first of all, we'll multiply using the FOIL method. 6 times 4 is 24, and 6 times positive is positive. 6 times the square root of 3, and negative 4 times the square root of 3. I put those in green. And then the positive times the negative is a negative, and the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is the square root of 9, which is actually 3. And then we can simplify these. What's 24 minus 3? It looks like 21. I guess I made a little faux pas when I did these, so that's 21. All right. And then 6 square roots of 3 minus 4 square roots of 3 are 2 square roots of 3. So there you go. All right. And then number 16, number 16, the cube root of 64. That's the same thing. Well, 64, 4 times 4 is 16 times 4 is 64. So that's the same thing as the cube root of 4 cubed. And that's just 4. So they'll simplify real nicely. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. And again, I'll say this over and over. Please practice these on your own. Make sure you can do these on your own. And make sure you're very confident, and then that's going to really help when exam time comes.